Good afternoon. We will call our work session agenda to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Dominic.
Present.
Lyndon Johnson. Jackson. Lynn. Bowman. Cawthorn.
Present.
Gage Watts.
Present.
Middleton. Atkins.
Here.
Chavez.
Here, sir.
Smith. Lewis Johnson.
Present.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We'll have our invocation by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn, and we'll have our pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Mike Middleton. Before we stand, I would ask you to silence your cell phones, and before our prayer, I would ask for a moment of silence for little Malia, attorney J. Ashley Mitchell Carter, and the victims of Virginia Beach. Please stand. Thank you.
Eternal gracious Father, we come this evening with bowed down and humble hearts. We thank you for the assembly of the people here today to conduct the business of Caddo Parish. Lord, we pray for the minds and hearts and souls of every resident in this community, and we pray that, Heavenly Father, that we can work collectively for the greater good of Caddo Parish. In Christ Jesus' name, we offer this petition. Amen.
Amen.
Veterans have the option of rendering a brow salute. Recite with me the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, commissioners. Mr. Clerk, I have no agenda additions. Do you have any?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Next item, please, sir.
Next, we have citizen comments.
Okay, citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward to the president or the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizen will be limited to 3 minutes. I have one card. Ms. John Glover. Welcome, Ms. Glover.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Do I need to get my address and all those
No,
things?
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I come before the commission today to ask your attention to a pressing issue, school crossing guard expenditures. It seems that the city of Shreveport felt in its budgetary meeting that it would cut the funding for the crossing guards by $75,000. They in turn asked that the Caddo Parish School Board would look into taking on that responsibility, to which the school board has denied such. So I stand before you all asking for consideration that you all pick up the cost after you do whatever process or procedures that needs to be done to support such a request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glover. Our next visitor is Irma D. Rogers. Good afternoon. Welcome, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
President Watts, Vice President Chavez.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, other members of the commission. I come to follow up on an economic impact addition that I sent in. And there was one change on the budget, so I've made some copies to be disseminated back for the Economic Development Committee. But I wanted to ask you to please consider this request. Our regional is here next week, 13th through the 15th, for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We're expecting our international Grand Bachelors, as we have chapters in several other countries aside from America. And the regional takes up Louisiana and Texas. So we have more than 758 already who are registered sorority sisters. And there are several others, another 600 about ancillary, including undergraduates. The numbers that was emailed to the members of the Economic Impact Committee, those are being reallocated by Mr. Bradley at the Tourist Bureau because there were some that were left out. So I did want to make you aware of that, and I wanted to leave this updated budget packet for you.
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
You can give it to our Deputy Clerk, Michelle Nations, right there, and she'll make sure that we get it. And we can't ask you any questions at this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, next, we move to visitors. We have Mr. Michael Posada for Butler and Snow. A brief presentation.
Mr. Basada.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. We originally were coming a couple weeks ago to give you an update on the Pine Hill Waterworks District bond refunding that we did. And earlier that week we had a seminar that we did on some new regulations that took effect last February that affect bond issues going forward, most bond issues going forward. And Commissioner Chavez was in attendance there and asked us to come and make a presentation. And I think now, though, I think we're going to go ahead and do a full workshop, so we won't go through the whole presentation. We'll just kind of give you just the main subject and overview. Mainly, though, on the Pine Hill Waterworks District, happy to say that we were able to close that deal and save the ratepayers in that water district money. And I know that they're very happy. I know the staff of the water district was very happy. There were a lot of things that they wanted to do that they will now be able to do. And so we were excited about that opportunity to help them. In terms of our presentation that we'll go over as we work with Commissioner Chavez, but one of the big things that federal regulators are looking at is to make sure that the citizens and all public bodies, municipalities, are really protected within the market when you go to the municipal markets. And one of the things that they've done since the financial crisis, which really triggered this, because before 2008, nobody paid a lot of attention to the municipal markets. It was kind of the sleepy market out there. Everybody thought the corporate markets were going to be where all the problems were, the Enrons, the Bernie Madoffs. After the crash of 2008, what people started to see and lawmakers started to see was that a lot of municipalities were left holding the bag. A lot of taxpayers were left holding the bag. And so they really started to ramp up regulations. And as of 2 months ago, they passed two new amended regulations to what's called 15C212 regulations. They're the disclosure regulations. And basically what it says is there's certain new events that when they happen, you have 10 days, all municipalities, all issuers have 10 days to report those events, if they meet that criteria, to the federal government through the MSRB's EMA system. And there's a lot of questions on that. We've had a lot of discussions. I recently just met with some members of the MSRB, as well as was on a call with someone from the SEC. And there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of developments that are going on here. And there are a lot of things that you would want to do to prepare to be able to meet those requirements as we move into the future and as you issue bond issues in the future. So we look forward to presenting this. We brought some packets for everyone of the presentation that you can feel free to look at, and we will continue to give you more information. The other thing I wanted to do just while I was here is introduce one of our partners, Trey Hairston. Trey is in our Jackson office. Trey is a member of the executive committee of Butler Snow, which is our board of directors, one of the youngest members of the board of directors. And Trey previously worked for the governor of Mississippi, and he really was an economic development guru, wrote a lot of legislation that really governs Mississippi's economic development laws. And so as we opened up Butler Snow in Shreveport, North Louisiana, being one of the first major law firms to do that, Trey called me and said, I know what it's like not having every part of the state really represented and every part of the state really having resources. And so I want to come and make sure that Shreveport and that North Louisiana really gets all the resources that they need for Butler Snow. And so I just wanted to introduce Trey and let him say a few words.
Thank you, Michael. President Watts and Vice President Chavez, thank you for having me here before you. And just to reiterate what Michael said, we're really excited to be in Shreveport. We're really excited about the opportunities and the growth in Shreveport and growing our office here. And just, we're new to this particular part of the state, but we are We're well represented in New Orleans, well represented in Baton Rouge, and really excited about growing in Shreveport. We are currently the only nationally ranked law firm, bond counsel firm in the entire state of Louisiana, ranked by the U.S. News and World Reports. One of our latest deals in Denver, Colorado, won Deal of the Year by the Bond Buyer, which is a national trade publication for public finance. I personally worked on transactions all throughout the country, one in particular in Atlanta, where we helped to issue $25 million in homeless opportunity bonds to really put people back to work and work with workforce and homeless housing. Stadium deals throughout the country, all sorts of different transactions with respect to hotels, museums. So we're really excited to be here. Again, we're one of the top, ranked bond counsel firms throughout the country by Reuters and Well Report. So it's a tremendous opportunity to see the growth that's taking place here in the parish and in Shreveport. So really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with Michael here in Louisiana and Shreveport. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple commissioners on board. Thank you, Mr. Posada. Thank you, Mr. Trey, for coming down. The first one is Vice President Chavez.
Thank you, President. Trey, welcome to Shreveport.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Posada, thank you for coming back home. I know your roots run deep, and they run deep in Shreveport, and you could be a bond counsel anywhere in the United States, and you chose to come back home to Shreveport. And I know we need local representation when it comes to government entities and who we reach out to. I know too often I see our body and other local government officials reaching out to other people in Baton Rouge and Colorado and Los Angeles, and I just would love to see somebody champion for the local community, and you're one of those people. So thank you for being here, and thank you for taking an interest in Caddo Parish.
Absolutely.
I know you mentioned that you guys were rated, I believe, in the top 10 in the country. Congratulations on that. It's even cooler that we have somebody here locally that's working for one of the top 10 bond firms in the United States. So we have somebody that we can lean on with many, many years of experience to do things right here around this horseshoe. So thank you for that. Mike, I know you guys had a longer presentation that you invited me to, and it was very, very informative. Dr. Wilson, I'd love to see some of our staff go to one that we put on in the near future, and we can invite the other government bodies, the school board and the city council. I saw members from both of those boards there, and it was nice to see them, but I know the information that you put out would be instrumental to see a lot more of not only the people around this horseshoe, but people that work in the executive branch to see there to get this new information that you guys have to put out. I know Cawthorn and I put out a seminar last week on opportunity zones, and it was well attended to the tune of about 100 people. And I know there's a lot of people that are here local in this community that would like to hear things like that. So we'll work together to see if we can get a workshop together, and you guys could come and tell us more about the information that you gave us last week. Thank you, Mr. Posada.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And working in Baton Rouge and starting my career there, I just really saw that we were doing a lot of things in a lot of areas that didn't include North Louisiana. And I think that we need to have the opportunity to really see some of the development that we see in the rest of the state and the rest of the country. And so very, very excited to be back and to provide this service.
Thanks for fighting for Caddo Parish, guys.
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention one thing. We, I guess late last year, our law firm closed the first opportunity zone financing in the country. And so as soon as I leave this podium, I'm going to go hop on a call to talk about opportunity zones. So it's something that we're really passionate about, that we think can bring a lot of opportunity to the Shreveport area.
Thanks, guys.
Have you all set a date for the workshop presentation?
No, we actually were just talking to the commissioner earlier about doing that instead because of the length of it, and so we'll be working on a date in the next 30 days and get the information out.
Thank you. Please let me know, because I wasn't aware about the conference that you all had last week. So make sure
Absolutely.
that you get that notice to me.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You have another commissioner that has some comments. Commissioner Lynn Carthorne.
Yeah, he answered, excuse me, he answered my question, but I want to also applaud Mike coming back home and doing great things as it relates to Caddo Parish and City of Shreveport. But my question is going to be about the you said you guys just closed an opportunity zone. So before you leave today, we'd like to chat with you as it relates to that particular fund.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right. Before our next item, Mr. Clerk, I would just like to recognize Miss Helen Godfrey Smith in the audience. Hello. Next item, please.
Next, we move to reports, administrative report.
Dr. Wilson.
And I don't have a report today.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to work session agenda.
I guess, well, I'll give my report. I don't see anyone else on there. Good afternoon again. The Juvenile Justice Committee met today to discuss updates relative to the Raise the Age Act, the 17-year-old mandate. Director Clay Walker and his staff, the judges, are aggressively continuing to reduce the juvenile population in the detention center by working in a collaborative effort with Caddo Parish Sheriff Office, Shreveport Police Department, Caddo Parish School Board, DA's office, and many other programs that have been expanded. The numbers are declining, and plans of action are being discussed to continue the downward spiral of the juvenile incarceration, as well as taking into consideration the maintaining of the public safety as our priority for the most serious cases to be addressed accordingly. We will reconvene on June 17th at 2 p.m., Mr. Clerk, for additional discussions. That would conclude my committee report. Next item, please, sir.
Next, we move, President's reports.
A reserve until Thursday.
Okay. We have no old business, we move to new business. Zoning case P819 in regards to ordinance number 5882 of 2019 to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended Caddo Parish Unified Development Code by amending the zoning of property located at the northeast corner of Acorn Street and Womack Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agriculture Zoning District to RMHS Residential Manufactured Home Subdivision Zoning.
Move to advance the regular session. Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson, and that was seconded by Commissioner Lewis Johnson. Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Mr. Clark, can you come up and kind of give us some information about this? I saw it had quite a few people was in opposition of it, but I noticed that the MPC voted 6-0 to approve it.
The MPC actually voted 6-0 to deny the application.
Oh, okay, my bad, denied, okay.
And it was basically because of the widespread opposition to the manufactured home subdivision in that area. And after careful consideration, the board chose to vote to deny after the staff had recommended to approve it.
Okay, this is the one where it's like an acre and a half or something
Right.
like that?
It's an acre and a half.
They want to subdivide it into three lots to put 3 different trailer homes in?
There were actually 3 lots, the property was already subdivided. And that's why we deferred and continued, because they brought a subdivision plat to the actual meeting. But the lots were like 1.5 acres, and generally mobile homes are placed on 1 acre lots. And that was part of the problem with, it would not have comfortably facilitated 3 mobile homes anyway.
Okay, because right now one of them is sitting sideways,
Right.
covering 2 of the lots.
Right.
They want to turn it and then bring
Right.
2 more in.
I think they have 3 up there now,
I think
but
one-
they're not on separate lots. They're across lot lines and
Right.
so forth.
Okay. And the ones that was in opposition were all nearby neighbors.
They were neighbors from across the street and down the street and throughout the neighborhood. It was pretty consistent with the opposition in this
Okay.
case.
All right. Thank you.
I see no further discussion. Please vote.
Vote to advance it, okay.
And that passes 9 with 2 out of the chamber. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5883 of 2019, amend the budget for estimate revenues, expenditures for the capital outlay fund in the amount of $55,976 to increase appropriation for Pine Hill Road Bridge.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Doug Dominic, and that was seconded by Commissioner John Atkins. See no discussion, please vote. Okay, and that passes 9 with 3 out of the chamber. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorize the introduction of ordinance 5884 of 2019, amending the budget for estimate revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $20,000 to provide an appropriation for Zeta Phi Beta sorority.
Move to advance.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson, and that was seconded by the chair. Okay, see no discussion, please vote. Vice President Chavez.
I just, Deputy Clerk, will you pass out that economic impact study?
I passed it down.
Did you, oh, it's,
It's stuck somewhere. They made it to us.
Mr. Dominic, do you have the other copies?
I have one.
I'm just curious on the impact,
Okay.
if you can.
This is not the
This is not
impact,
an
this is,
impact.
this is just the budget.
I can speak to that, Madam President.
Okay.
Well, the earlier version I saw had annual spend of about 440,000. Sorry, event spend of about 440,000, over 1,000 hotel rooms. The tax base was going to be about 22,000. Ms. Rogers said that there was some erroneous information on the low side in that, so she expects this revised version to have higher economic impact than illustrated in that first draft. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome,
Commissioner.
sir. Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Dominic, when you on the board?
Yeah, I'm off. I'm good.
You good? Commissioner Atkins?
I was just speaking to that. Thank you.
Okay. See no further discussion. Please vote. Okay, and that passes 9-1. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5885 to amend Article 6 of Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo relative to Section 26-182, Schedule A, speed limits on Calumet Drive.
Move to advance to the regular session.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson and second by Commissioner Mike Middleton. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yes, I'd like to make a substitute motion to Englobo and advance ordinance number 5885, resolution number 43, resolution number 44, resolution number 45, resolution number 46, resolution number 47, resolution number 48, resolution number 49.
I would second if you remove resolution number 47.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. I see no further discussion.
Oh, yeah, I got
Sorry.
time, yeah.
Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Okay, well, I wanted to basically, talk about resolution 44, if any of the.
Yeah, we can discuss
If any of the commissioners had a concern about that.
what we got on
That's
44.
dealing with the, testing the water on Cross Lake and 12 Mile Bayou. If anybody had a question.
I'm okay with it, but I'd like to hear about it.
Okay, so based upon some of the conferences we went to, this is one of the most talked about subject is water contamination. And it's something that most municipalities don't test for, are these chemicals. And some of the areas in which they have tested for them, they have come up positive with these chemicals present. Additional testing have shown that in those areas that the cancer rate is also higher as well. And so based upon the frequency of flooding of Cross Lake and 12 Mile Bayou, it just triggered in my mind that, hey, we need to get this water tested because of the landfill that sits in the Cross Lake watershed. And that basically was a landfill for new construction and also demolition of homes and other buildings. And some of those chemicals are present in homes after they've been demolished. And I just wanted to make sure, being proactive, that we put something out there to get this water tested, so that at least I can have a clean slate in my mind, in my heart, that I've done what I needed to do based upon the information that I've learned while going out to some of these conferences and conventions. And these chemicals come from stuff like Scotchgard, which is in carpet, Teflon, so it's like coating material.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Somebody else got another question?
Commissioner Doug Dominic?
Yeah, I was gonna talk on some other issues. Anybody have any other questions?
Commissioner Lewis
Yes.
Johnson?
I can very much appreciate this resolution. However, I have questions as it relates to whether or not we've communicated with the local bodies as it relates to, especially Cross Lake being our primary water source. I know that there is testing that's done by the water department regularly. Now, to what degree, I'm not sure.
They don't
Have you
test
had-
for these.
I'm sorry?
They don't test for those.
They do not? Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Dominic, you get on the board.
I need to get back, or?
Mhm. Commissioner Doug Dominic?
Okay. Commissioner Jackson, so is ordinance in your global, did you say 5886 to be moved to, or?
No.
Okay, so it was 5885 and then picking up on the resolution?
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to bring up Ms. Helen Godfrey Smith and also Mr. Grant Sluther, am I saying it right? If y'all can come up, they're here, and Ms. Helen Godfrey here, and Ms. President, I know you welcomed her a while ago, but they're here for resolution number 43.
Okay.
And since they were here, I just wanted to briefly talk. This is a refinance, I guess is what you would say that, so some bonds and issues. Ms. Helen Godfrey Smith is one of our representative for the North Caddo Hospital Service District. I'm assuming that's why you're here. And Grant also, who's with Foley Jadell, which is our longtime bond counsel for the Caddo Parish, who's always done a great job for us and working with the hospital there. Appreciate you coming up here. Mr. Grant, if you can just briefly tell the commission what this is about, so to answer any questions that they may have when we vote Thursday. But obviously, this is just kind of a refinance to where y'all going to save some money.
This is a good. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I will greet the I will greet the commissioners, and I'm very, very pleased to be before the commissioners on such a good occasion. We've got very good news because we're saving the taxpayers over $205,000 over the next term of these bonds that we are planning to refinance. And I'll toss the ball.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is for the North Caddo Hospital Service District. This is a refinancing of a 2013 bond issue that the hospital district did. They are refinancing with no debt extension, simply reducing the annual payments, reducing the interest rate. They're reducing the interest rate from 4.5% to 3.65%. And as indicated, it's $205,000 in savings to the hospital district for other uses, public uses. And also, they are freeing up the reserve fund. The new bank will not require a reserve fund, so that's over $384,000 that will be freed up for projects for the hospital service district. So it's good news and a very successful refinancing.
And I am proud to say that I am chair of the Finance Committee for the hospital, and we're very proud of our new hospital facilities and all of the new opportunities that we're bringing to the North Caddo community and for Caddo as a whole, as far as hospital services are concerned.
And Miss Helen and Grant, Miss Helen, thank you for serving, and be sure and tell the other board members, thank y'all for your hard work. You know, by doing this, you're saving us money, and just wanted to, you know, hey, anybody go to the hospital, but I'm telling you what, if you go to that hospital, I mean, it's something that rivals any hospital. It is extremely, extremely nice. Y'all doing a great job, Miss
Are
Helen.
you biased?
a little bit. And she's saving me
It's
money. so I
difficult not to
appreciate
be.
it. But I mean, it's what, the second largest employer behind the school board for the town of Vivian, the area. I mean, it's a great thing. So.
Well, and it was a very, very good story. Back in 2013, when these bonds were issued, it was very difficult cobbling together various sources of financing for that hospital, but it turned out very, very well.
Well, congratulations.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Oh, I don't have any on this one. I'm gonna come. Well, I guess are y'all finished on the hospital?
I'm finished unless
Okay.
anybody has any questions for the
I had a quick
hospital.
question for the hospital, Madam President.
Go ahead, Commissioner Atkins, if that's okay with you,
Grant?
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Quick, and Ms. Helen, quick question. Did you say you reduced your interest rate from like 4.3 to like 3.6? Is that what I heard?
4.5 to 3.65.
And was that a function of stabilizing your revenue sources? Is that how?
It was a bank that was willing to take a new rate. The bank that originally owned the bonds was asked if they would do an interest rate reduction. The response was not favorable on that, so an additional bank was sought out to take out this loan and reduce the interest rate, and that results in the savings and the freed up reserve fund for additional projects.
Can you stretch out your amortization too?
No, sir.
No, I thought you extended that.
No, no extension whatsoever, simply a reduction in principal and interest payments each and every year. No extension.
Okay, thank you.
It's a
Thank you.
true economic refunding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yeah, I'll first say, Commissioner Dominic, I've been there, and
Yeah.
it is quite a state of the art.
Well, that area it really is.
Yeah, it's state of the art. Thank you, Ms. Godfrey, for serving on there with my good friend, Pastor James Green. So appreciate it so much. Want to go back to the DEQ. This is the landfill that they just shut down in MLK. Is that's the Harrelson? Okay, and I saw Ms. Rogers leave, but I think this is very worthy cause to do this because I know one of the issues was Alan Clark, Mr. Clark. I think they had expanded. But did they hit the water source, or were they running off into the water source? Or I know they had expanded without permission, and they were pretty close to the water source. But and I didn't mean to call you Alan out loud like that. I mean, Mr. Clark.
As you know, they were abutting a water treatment center. so-
Okay.
And they did start to expand. And that's basically all the knowledge that we had of it. It's more of a water and sewer department.
Were you familiar with it? Because I do believe that there was some underground contamination.
There was some underground
And so that's why I think that this is very important that we move this forward, because there was some underground contamination that took place. And so we don't know where that underground contamination went to. But I know
Not
there
at
was a
all.
thermal view of it. And I don't know if anybody has a copy of that thermal. I'll go dig in my emails to see. But it kind of was contaminated pretty bad up there. So
It was. It was a horrible sight, and it never stopped burning, if you recall.
right. And it's capped now, right?
Yes.
So testing the water right now, I think, is a great thing, and it definitely will give some reassurances. That's all I had, Mr.
Thank
Clark. It definitely will give some reassurances to the water quality and the citizens of in the MLK area about this issue. So I hope that we move it forward.
Well, not only MLK, everybody in Shreveport.
Absolutely, everybody who drinks the water. in Shreveport.
Also Bossier Parish,
Correct.
Bossier City as well.
Correct.
Full space.
Correct. I don't think the base is on there, is it?
They get their water from Red River.
Okay, I thought they wanted another water supply. Okay, but that's it for me, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. I see no further discussion. Please vote. Does everyone need to be reminded on what we're voting
I
on?
just have one question. There was a resolution that was left off.
47.
47, okay, I just want to be sure on that.
Okay. And that passes 10-0. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Now we do authorize introduction of ordinance number 5886.
Madam President, I would like to, we postpone, remove ordinance number 5886 of 2019.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson and second by Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson. Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
would you like to speak on that motion?
Yeah, I think we're working with the parish attorney's office to kind of, she's going to make some suggestions to the ordinance, but I do believe we have resolved the outstanding issue with regard to Northwest Louisiana CDC. So we'll put it back on, but at the moment, the parish attorney has requested that we remove it, so.
Okay, that's it?
That's it. Thank you, Madam President.
All
And
right.
thank you to our legal for working on this.
Okay, see no further discussion, please vote. To remove. Okay, and that passes 10-0. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorize resolution number 47, 2019, urging requesting the city of Shreveport to enact a moratorium on issuing permits for payday loan shops and pawn shops.
So move for introduction.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson and second by Commissioner Mario Chavez. See no discussion?
And I'll speak to it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't mind. Just to seem like there may be some ambiguity on it. What we really have is an effort to, and I've been in conversation with John Nicholson of Shreveport City Council, Levette Fuller as well. There's an effort to sort of combat some of the payday lending. I think the MPC has established within the UDC some requirements, but specifically, I'll just, without calling names at this, Chase Bank on 70th Street, East 70th, they closed what was a long-standing institution there in that community, and there was an effort to bring an alternative financial source there to provide traditional means of banking, and instead of working with those organizations, working with the city of Shreveport, working with the parish to do that, it was denied in favor of a pawn shop. And so we don't want neighborhoods and communities preyed upon by payday loans and pawn shops. Now, this is not specific to that particular one, but this is right now, I think Commissioner Lynn has also asked, we're going to be trying to approach the Community Foundation so we can do a sort of community study on the effects of payday lending and pawn shops saturating areas, depressed areas particularly. So that's what we're looking at here, and that's all we're doing is asking the city of Shreveport, at least until we can look at that from the Community Foundation perspective, look at it from the commission, look at it from the city council perspective, is that they would kind of hold off on permitting any new pawn shops, any new payday loan establishments at this time. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Commissioner Lynn Carthorne?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I wanted to get a little clarification from Commissioner Jackson.
Sure.
As it relates to the facility that sits on 70th Street,
Mm-hmm.
is it still owned by Chase Bank, or they're selling it and the people that are interested in purchasing the facility is interested in placing a payday loan there?
I think Chase owns it, and they entertain bids, as I understand the process to have gone. They entertain sort of a bid process.
To buy the property or to lease the property?
To buy.
To buy.
To buy. And it's actually in your district.
I know.
And so it was very devastating and heartbreaking to learn that they rejected it for a pawn shop. When we're talking about trying to bring traditional financing means to a community, what does it say when you have a financial institution that's willing, and Ms. Godfrey is here as a long-standing president, when these institutions saturate an area, a lot of banks will sort of have this do not compete clause, but I know for a fact there was a credit union that was interested in putting sort of a financial empowerment center there. And so we're still trying to work with Chase through that process. It's not finalized, so hopefully we can go back to the table and have a conversation with them.
Okay, and also, as it relates to the moratorium on the issuance of pawn shops and payday loan, I'm on the same page with you as it relates to that. But can you give me your own estimations what that kind of looks like? A year, you want a moratorium for a year to be requested by the Shreveport City Council, And in doing so, you want to be able to approach the community foundation to come up with more viable financial solutions for.
Correct. Work with us because we have our banking task force as well. But if that's an amendment that you're asking, I'll entertain that friendly amendment.
No, I was just trying to get an understanding.
Because we don't have
process.
one here. We don't have a time limit in place.
Okay.
And so I would assume that we could make it up to a year or request that it be up to a year or whenever the community foundation. I don't know, and I can't commit
But the
community
moratorium have to
foundation.
be passed by the city council anyway. Huh?
Correct, if I understand. That's correct, Attorney Frazier?
Correct.
So, I can't commit the community foundation. I just know that there's conversation going on with the community foundation.
I was just trying to get a better understanding of
Sure.
the thought process. And, you know, you always start with the end in mind.
Absolutely.
So I was trying to see what the end result are. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you,
And
Mr. President.
since you didn't make it, I may make it next on Thursday that we put a timeline on there.
Okay.
Vice President Chavez.
Thank you, President. Just for parliamentary procedure, a clarification, I'm seconding this because that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it. However, I do applaud Commissioner Jackson because I understand his district and what he's trying to do. He obviously wants to help the people of his district, and he's their voice. And this is an issue that has plagued the community in the lower income area. And obviously, I personally believe that it's going to be education that's going to fix this. And I know we had talks about getting a mobile banking van with one of the entities that we bank with from the parish to go into these communities and have set days where they will allow the process of teaching and doing training. I'd love to see that. Obviously, I'm gonna vote to bring this onto the agenda. I don't know where it's gonna go on Thursday, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to hinder business, and I don't want to put enough restrictions on there to where an honest businessman that's trying to make a dollar cannot open a business, but simultaneously, I do see the argument from your side of the fence. So I think together, working with the city and the community foundation, we can probably come up with a real good plan of action. But obviously, I truly believe that education is going to be the key for this scenario, because there's just obviously too many of them, and we have to work at that angle. So that's all. Thank you, President.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Commissioner Chavez. The institution that was interested, they are interested in doing what's called hybrid, a hybrid institution where it's not a full-fledged bank, because we know that the face of banking has changed, but they're also interested in doing the mobile banking. They have expressed an interest in doing that, where they could go out into those rural areas to provide access to those financial means of banking. So they are open to that, and that's been a conversation that they have had.
Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. These payday loan shops and pawn shops pretty much cover most of our districts. There might be one or two exceptions, but they're in pretty much everybody's district. The only question I have, I think Mr. Clark, you might be able to answer it, and it's dealing with the zoning. Is the zoning for these payday loans and pawn shops the same as it was for being a pre-existing bank or a commercial piece of property?
I have nothing in front of me, but if I remember correctly, they are considered financial institutions, and the same type of zoning that's required for a bank is the same type of zoning that's required for a payday loan institution.
All right. So I mean, even thank you, and even supporting this, it basically puts the pressure on the city council to act upon it for a period of time. But if the UDC basically says it's the same zone, a person can buy a building, move right on in, and open business. So I think this is a start, but it can't be a finish. There has to be some other things going along with this. In District 2, we have a bank that's basically closed, and working now.
Coming. You got another one coming.
Yeah.
Capital One.
Well, that one's closing.
That's Sussler, yeah.
Yeah, that one is closing. And so one of the things we're trying to do is to keep the ATM outside there intact so that you still have that same kind of banking experience before it closed. So I understand, that I would rather have it as a bank. People could go and don't want to see the payday loan shop there at all. The pawn shops, the community is already saturated with those, and so really don't see too much good come out of a pawn shop. So I'm in favor of it. I just don't know how much teeth this will actually have to it, and will the city council actually go along with it once they get to talking to their city attorney and basically finding out that, hey, it's the same zone, can't stop it. So if somebody applies for it, how you gonna stop it? So good step, but I think got to put some more into it in order to actually do what you really want it to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. And I think that I have clarity at this point. I was just trying to be clear, Commissioner Jackson, that as it relates to this particular moratorium, the goal is to prohibit or prevent either of these entities from even applying for any permits for a yet to be discussed amount of time.
Basically, Commissioner Johnson, what this would do would be to urge the city to enact the moratorium. The city would be responsible for coming up with the time limit, and I'm assuming that it would be contingent upon whatever amount of time the community foundation say they need to study the matter. So it would be to urge the MPC to urge the city to put the moratorium on issuing permits for these establishments until that study had been completed.
Okay. Pardon my ignorance. I want to make sure I was clear on the term, which means it's going to prohibit it, prevent it from happening.
Right. If a moratorium is enacted, while it's in place, no permits for these establishments will be issued.
Understand. Thank you.
My head.
Commissioner John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I respect the position from which this proposal is being made. I'm not a large supporter of payday loans, and I recognize that they do cause challenges for repeat customers of those organizations. So I respect the position from which this proposal is being made. I just have a personal problem with making a moratorium on any industry. I'd be afraid that it could then be applied to other industries, and I just think there has to be a lot of care taken when considering moratoriums. So I won't be supporting it, but I understand the logic behind it and can be supportive of the logic behind it. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Dominique.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Commissioner Atkins, and nothing, I just, I don't know how they legally can do that. Next thing they'll be putting a moratorium on when they might need to, those personal injury lawyers that are putting things on TV all the time. So, where does that go? And Donna, I don't know where, this might be really something to ask you, but it seems like there's got to be a emergency issue, a legal, how can you, what's the constitutional right to put a moratorium on a business? You already have zoning, so that stops that. I think we put a moratorium on something at one time, but it, had to relate with Katrina or something like that,
We had an issue where we had a moratorium in place on the development, I believe, of trailer parks.
Yeah.
Immediately after Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
Until the matter could be studied, and I think it lasted for about a year. Right. So it's not necessarily, though, that there has to be an emergency situation. There usually needs to be some kind of danger
reasonable
indicated.
Basis, something, health, safety, public welfare, or something like that.
Right. Whether that is usually a concern that would justify those.
Maybe, I'm sure a bunch of people would say there's concerns of lawyers. They may want to put too many of us around. So that's it. Thank you.
That's it, Commissioner Dominique.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Jackson, you spoke.
Oh, the other thing, I just don't like telling the city of Shreveport what to do. I mean, kind of that same thing too, but
Well, in this
Commissioner
case,
Jackson, I
he's actually-
understand.
He's asking this time, not telling.
You spoke twice, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, I just need you to get back on board. I'm going to go to Commissioner Mike Middleton.
Thank you. Well, when Doug came back and said the last part about trying to help the city out, I agree with that. I agree everything my fellow conservatives have said. And for that, I mean, I understand the intent, Stephen, I really do, but I just don't think I can jump on board asking the city to enact something. They can handle this themselves. They got their 7 people, and they can make it happen. And we don't need to put ourselves in it. But that's it. I appreciate it. I appreciate Steve bringing it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Middleton. Vice President Chavez.
Thanks, President. Would you rather us go to economic development to study? No? All right. Or the opposite of economic development, but I figured if, all right, that's all, President?
Okay, Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yeah, Mr. Clark, sorry you're getting your workout today.
Sit on the front row, Alan.
Director, you might want to stay close today. Okay. You look like you're getting it today.
Hasn't there been a moratorium on payday lending before? This wouldn't be the first one.
I don't recall a moratorium. As you recall, the UDC put significant restrictions on where they could be located. In certain zoning districts, they can't be within, it's either 500 or 1,000 feet of a residence. And that was just trying to keep them, and they could not be, in order to keep them from multiplying, they could not be within a certain many feet of each other. And that was just trying to keep them from proliferating.
Mm-hmm.
But we've never had a
I
moratorium.
also thought, I recall an email conversation with us saying that payday lending was used by right, or not used by right, it was a special exception, or was that?
It's a special use permit in certain districts.
So it would have to get the
It
approval?
would have to go before the MPC.
So it's not
board.
automatic that they
Yeah.
could just go in there?
It's not automatic. I think in C3 and C4, they were used by rights, and the other commercial districts, they have to obtain a special use permit.
Okay, so I just wanted to be clear that that this is not that they still have to get special exception or special use to go into, not necessarily, because I think somebody said that they could just move in, and I don't think that that's the case.
And if I may, the city council, during the adoption period for the UDC, were very concerned about payday loans.
Correct.
I think you were around at that time.
Absolutely.
And they did studies on the negative impacts and effects of payday loan institutions. That's why we came up with the special use permit requirement and the distance requirement between payday loans and other payday loans and residents.
Okay. I appreciate it.
We thought that we had eliminated, not eliminated, but restricted the proliferation of them.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Clark. Members, all I'm just asking us to do is.
Director, before you leave, I have a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
I'm just asking us to advance this to Thursday. We ask entities all the time to do certain things. This is no different. This is a harmless resolution. So asking for us to introduce this to Thursday. Thank you.
Okay. Director, I was asking, are you saying that there are already guidelines that are enacted in the UDC to protect us from these type of businesses from opening?
We considered that there were guidelines that protect the community from the proliferation of payday loan institutions. If you put distance requirements between payday loans, like we have distance requirement between group homes and other entities that proliferate, you slow down the growth of them. But we have nothing that prohibits them.
Okay. And that's basically what this one would do as a moratorium. It would slow it down and not actually prohibit it as well. Okay.
But you have to take into consideration that during the UD process, they were studied. For whatever that's worth.
Well, now, I don't know. I was just on an email where Levette Fuller and Councilman Nicholson indicated that they had been approached by the Community Foundation to take a look
We're
at it.
we're not arguing with you, Commissioner, at all.
Okay.
And as you well know, Councilwoman Fuller and Councilman Nicholson were not a part of
Right.
the council when the UDC was adopted.
I think the Department of Community Development looked at it from bank-owned perspective and not so much from a private community foundation perspective.
Right. Because we always felt that you had to have alternatives.
Correct.
Because certain people can't obtain bank accounts through the traditional means, and that's why these things proliferate.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please vote. And that fails 4-5. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we move to review proposals submitted for selection of the 2019-2020 Caddo Parish Official Journal set for Thursday.
So move for adoption, introduction.
To Thursday?
Right.
Move to
Yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Move to Thursday. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, and that was second by Commissioner Doug Dominic.
That's correct.
That was public
Please vote.
services.
Okay, that passes 10-0. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorized recognition of 75th anniversary of D-Day invasion.
So move for introduction on authorizing 75th anniversary for D-Day, authorizing special resolution for commendation and recognition for Jalen Pickens, special resolution for Mr. Randy Lucky, special resolution for Tony Johnson, special resolution in remembrance of Ashley Mitchell Carter.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, and that was second by Commissioner Mike Milton. Okay, Commissioner Jackson, you on board?
I'd like to add myself as a co-author for Miss Ashley Mitchell Carter.
And there
please.
will also, please add Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson to that resolution.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Mike Middleton.
Yes, thank you. I'm just suggesting all the commissioners, if you have any World War II vets living in your district, to make it down here for Thursday. Not necessarily, we're asking them to speak, and I know some of them are going to be in bad shape. Some of them are still in good shape. So I encourage you to bring somebody with you or have them down here so we can give them a pat on the back. Really, that's a big deal right there. Even if it's somebody that was living during that time, you know, anybody born, 1925 or later or earlier, anybody. So let's just make this a big deal and not just read paper. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Please vote. And that passes 10-0.
Next, we move to communications committee reports.
Vice President Chavez.
Jackson actually got me first, right? Okay. On behalf of District 10, our hearts go out to the shooting from Sunday. It was actually my neighbor on my street, so it really hit home. Obviously, we're not going to put any details, but you can read about it on the news. But our hearts are with the family. For Commissioner LBJ, a lot of people always talk about us in the traveling, in the scenarios where the commissioner shouldn't travel, and I'm a strong advocate for if you sit in your backyard and just look at each other, you're never going to learn anything. So the fact that you went over there to Detroit and we're at that conference and learned about that chemical that could be in our water source affecting our citizens, I applaud you for that and going up there and doing that and doing the work. And that's the only way that I truly believe that Caddo Parish is going to get better, is if the elected officials leave this city, go to other areas and see what they're doing better or what they're doing good, and get that information and come back here. I know Dr. Wilson and his staff, they can't be everywhere all the time, and they do the best that they can, but if we divide and conquer as a team, the 12 of us, we're going to come back with better ideas for Caddo Parish. So thanks for doing that, LBJ. I saw Commissioner Middleton, he took off. It's Flag Day, guys, on June the 14th. I know it, there he is. Sorry you were hiding him. I thought you walked away.
Don't confuse me with Doug, please.
Thanks for putting that on there. I know every year, that's the day that I, as a veteran, I hang a flag, an American flag, proudly on my house. It's it's something to see when you're over in Iraq and you see trucks coming and you know you're in a situation where friendly fire happens very often, and to see the American flag flying on top of that vehicle, it's a sense of home, and it's a sense of my home when I have it on my house, and for all the other commissioners, citizens of Caddo Parish, proudly display that flag on your house, and every year during Flag Day, let that be a remembrance of what it means, and obviously to take it down and put up a new one so that it's not tethered and looking bad. That's all. Thank you, President.
And there's a bank that's giving away free flags.
Bank doesn't give away a lot of free anything, so
I think
that's
it's
awesome.
Barksdale Federal Credit Union.
Good job, Barksdale.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson.
Yes, Madam President, Commissioners, I'd like to thank you all for coming out on Friday, and also for those who showed up Saturday night for Mr. Randy Lucky's retirement ceremony. It meant a lot to him, as well as to the members of our organization, and I appreciate that. We gave him a very good send-off, and he's a happy man today.
I can imagine so. It's a lot quieter without him here.
Yes,
right
ma'am,
now.
it's going to be different. And just a personal point of privilege, I was conversing with Mr. Grant Sluter earlier today about the relevance of our AAA bond rating. And I'd like for him to see what he told me today, because you're always hearing it from me. So, Mr. Grant, would you come up if you kind of talk about the significance of that act?
Thank you, Woody. Appreciate it. The significance is that the Caddo Parish Commission is the only public entity in Louisiana that has attained the highest bond rating from S&P of AAA. Successive commissioners over the years worked very, very hard to attain that. It took a number of years, a number of upgrades. And it's interesting, I recall after you attained that AAA rating, I was appearing before the State Bond Commission, and then Treasurer John Kennedy called me up and said, how did Caddo Parish do that? No one else has been able to do it, and the state hasn't been able to do it either. But based upon diligent research, it appears that no public body ever in Louisiana had attained that bond rating. To the best of my knowledge, no one has obtained it yet. There's been one or two public entities that have a AAA, say on a sales tax bond issue, but the general credit rating of the public body itself, to the best of our knowledge, you're the only guys that have that. What's the result of that? Anytime you go into the bond market, you're going to get the very lowest interest rate possible on that day.
I think we dropped the mic after that one and walk away, right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Questions? Oh, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I just want to make reference to something that Commissioner Vice President Chavez said, and extend condolences to a lot of families who are out there. Mental health is real, and I think we need to check on our well friends more. There is so much killing across this nation. It's not just Caddo Parish, but this entire nation is being affected by so many things. There's going to be a health and wellness and information fair that will be held this Saturday, and the Juvenile Court Services, Providence House, vendors, and all of these events and services, behavioral health, will be open to the public. It will be at the Ag Building at the State Fairgrounds this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I encourage you all to invite people out so that they can see these services that are being provided. You just never know who may need this information and who may be able to actually use these services that are being provided, because sometimes they just don't know. And people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we care about you, and we want you to get out and get this information. And there will also be a human trafficking conference that will be held right here at LSUS, and it'll be on June 27th and 28th. Our First Lady of Louisiana, Donna Edwards, will be the speaker of that conference. So we ask that you all please come out and support and encourage these endeavors. Thank you. Commissioner Mike Middleton.
Thank you. Review something. Todd, where is it that mentioned a couple of businesses specifically? In your districts, if you have any businesses or any place that goes above and beyond displaying flags like John over at the Auto Mall, those folks there, I encourage you to add anyone's names to the list that Todd has already started.
Under the now therefore be it resolved,
Okay.
it names the
Okay,
businesses.
thank you. So, reach out to Todd, give some more businesses. Let's add them in there before Thursday if we can. Also, thanks to Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson, a couple of years ago, he got some boxes placed out in the foyer here. So if you have any old flags, we want the media to let people know they can bring their old flags down here or any sheriff's office substation and get them properly disposed of. And one of the other ones I have on here is a ATV Safety Week. Some of you know that I got ATV certification as an instructor a couple months ago. I'll be helping out the Boy Scouts beginning in June as a volunteer. And also I've sent some statistics, more detailed specifics to Todd and Michelle just a few minutes ago. They'll provide those for us on Thursday. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yeah, Todd, on the vote for Resolution 47, how soon can you get that vote printed out for me? Who
We'll have it
voted what?
printed at the end of the meeting.
Because I counted 4 to 5, but I count 10 people here. And
There was one abstention.
I didn't see an abstention.
I saw one
Okay.
abstention.
I didn't catch the abstention. That was my. But if you can get that to me, 'cause I would like to know. I do plan to. If y'all can prepare to put it back on the agenda for the next meeting, as well. Also, want to thank. Is Kelvin here?
Yes.
Kelvin, could you, at the earliest, could you give us a update on the issue over at the duck pond with the nutria rats? I think y'all have.
I'm typing one for you right now.
Okay.
I just haven't hit send yet because I need to
Perfect.
have the other email
Gotcha.
recipients.
Okay, and if you could share it with the rest of the commission, I think Councilman Nicholson had indicated that there was a nutria rat problem over
Yes,
at the
it
duck
is.
pond.
It is.
And I think it's pretty bad, worse than most folks
We got the
thought.
survey findings back.
Okay.
And also the cost tag of $37,800 to eradicate it.
Say that again.
$37,800 to eradicate the problem.
And we're okay with, you gonna do that, or you
I'm
gonna?
gonna process of talking to the city about what they're gonna do to help with that cost savings.
Oh, okay.
In South Louisiana, they do fry and cook neutral rats.
I heard they did. Somebody told me they did.
Well, we declare open season on neutral rats down at the pond.
But let me ask you this though, Doc. I mean, in all seriousness though.
Okay.
Are we gonna wait until the city gets back to you, or are we gonna move forward and then have it?
I'm going to ask the question, and I hit send on the email, sir. I'm sending it to the councilman you talked about, Nick.
Okay.
And ask them, would the city want to co-share this opportunity with us?
Okay.
And we feel the sympathy of the folks down there, and we willing to do our part.
Okay. So the process is gonna wait until you hear back? Wait to go forward until you hear back from
Thankfully,
them?
he'll answer my email immediately, like with the concern he had initially.
Okay. All right.
That's your question?
I guess so. I guess I'm trying to figure out are we gonna go ahead and eradicate the problem, or are we gonna wait to hear back from them? It sounds like you're saying you're gonna wait to hear back, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like you're saying you're gonna, okay. I appreciate it. But I appreciate y'all for giving that
We're
attention.
looking at it. Eric and I already discussed it this morning, so we're trying to develop a strategy,
Okay.
how we handle it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that we were being good partners
Yes, sir.
on that, and I appreciate the attention to it. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that if we could, Dr. Wilson, I'm trying to schedule a neighborhood association meeting in July, and if we could, I think there are some community vendors that you have a list for what they used to do with Commissioner Epperson
Yes, sir.
over in his area. If you could, whoever has that list could get it to me so we can see who all would, it'll be for Stoner Hill. So if we could get that list for that. And I also wanted to find out, do we have a volunteer requirement for our summer workers? I know that there was a need for volunteers for the health fair, the resource fair this weekend. And so,
We do use volunteers, particularly when we did the Spongebob Summit.
Mhm.
We have folks working with us that are
Mhm.
volunteers.
right, I'm saying since we have summer workers
Oh.
who were available, do we ask them to volunteer, maybe put up a volunteer sign-up list to ask them because we do want to, at least in my opinion, I can't speak for everybody, we do want to emphasize service, this opportunity to work. I do know when I worked with the mayor's program, there was a requirement to, not the summer workers, at least the interns, there was a requirement for a service project. So I don't know if y'all can put up a list. I don't know if you can mandate it, but if at least put a list and encourage them, because we want them to get into the habit of giving back, the spirit of giving back to the community, because I do see this as a privilege for them to be able to work. I understand some folks won't be able to make it, but if there are volunteer opportunities that come up during the summer months, I would definitely want to encourage our summer workers to volunteer around our community. And so, but I appreciate y'all for contacting me early today and resolving the issue that I think came up last week as well. So thank y'all. That concludes my comment. And just lastly, law school passed. We passed the Senate on Saturday morning. No objection, so I'll keep everybody informed on. I think Dr. Pierre, Chancellor Pierre, would like to come up, and so we'll keep everybody in the loop on how that goes forward. Appreciate it.
Commissioner John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to follow up on Grant's discussion about the AAA bond rating. I'd like to thank our previous commissioners for their discipline in gaining and upholding a AAA bond rating. I'd like to thank the current commission for their financial discipline in allowing us to maintain that AAA bond rating. And most importantly, I'd like to thank Dr. Wilson and Ms. Bryant for their work in ensuring that we both obtained and have upheld a AAA bond rating. The only one in the state. That's really a testament to y'all's hard work, so thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Lynn Carthorne.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind the body that on this past Thursday, we did have a meaning us, the Caddo Parish Commission, and Carl Riggs Ingram accounting firm did a Opportunity Zone seminar, and I was well attended. And what was most impressive about it, it was a cross section of people that have intersections in the opportunity, meaning that there were attorneys, there were CPAs, there were community people, there were people who owned property in opportunity zones looking to do something with it. So it was a real good collaborative effort. And we're hopeful that out of this summit, out of this seminar, that what really needs to happen in the opportunity zones, let me back up and say this, there are 3 opportunity zone funds already created that are laser focused on investing in downtown. What we need to do is there are opportunity that lies within the other 5 zones inside the city, and if we can create opportunities and synergy between opportunity zone funds that can fund some of the projects that may be needed in a Cedar Grove or Moortown, MAK, and areas like that. But once again, it was a good good showing, good number of people there, good dialogue, and it's something we can move forward on. Thanks.
Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
question, what's going on outside with the flower beds and
I think
everything?
the city
Is there a problem or?
No, sir, the city is redoing the flower beds to enhance the appearance of them.
Oh, appearance, they gonna also fix the pond, the pool out there? The
I
sprinkler?
believe that may be in their plan, I'm not sure, but the pool itself. but
Okay,
they
are they
doing
gonna
all-
ask us for some help on doing all this?
Pardon me?
Are they gonna ask us for some help on doing all of this?
They haven't thus far.
Okay. I mean, I just don't want all that to get done and then they say, well, can y'all help us?
Yeah, well, you know, we do cost share for the maintenance of the building,
Right.
27%. So,
But you should also have some input if you're gonna pay.
yeah, that's true.
That's
I'll
what I've
investigate.
always said since day one. If you want some money from us, we also should have some input on what you're doing and not just do it and then say, well, we're looking for our percentage.
I agree.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna reach out to them tomorrow?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Randy's free now. He can help.
Commissioner Johnson, we started that conversation before you got here in the committee meeting about what was going on. So we were not even aware that anything would be going on today up until 12 noon. And our clerk had to call to say, our commissioner's on their way. Will you please clear the parking lot?
I know there's a lot of dirt out there. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we've started that conversation, so thank you for reiterating it.
Thank you.
We should talk about a place to get your car washed if you need it.
You do it, not me. Right, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have citizen comments, late arrivals. I have no cards.
I have none either.
Next, we move to consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Right, meeting is adjourned.